welcome back to the channel. Today we're trying out something a bit more unique, something I haven't really done before. We're going to be making some classic Mortal Kombat stages in Minecraft. We're sort of combining two games I play quite a lot into one video. I think this will be pretty fun. I'm going to be playing this in creative. I am not good at Minecraft, so this could be kind of funny. We'll see how it goes. We're going to be making a couple of stages from the original Mortal Kombat game only. Specifically, we're going to be making 3 throughout this video. If this video does well, then I'll make sure to make some stages from MK2 and we'll keep making some from other games. So consider subscribing if you want to see more of that. Thank you for clicking on the video. Let's get into it. So the first stage we're going to be creating here is Tsung's Courtyard, of course, from the original game. And this has actually appeared in a few games. We're going to be taking inspiration from the MK9 version as well as the original Mortal Kombat 1992 version to create this, while adding a couple of my own little ideas to it to make it stand out a little bit. So don't expect it to look amazing or anything. First off, I think we want to start on the floor here, the area in front of where the monks will be, basically where people will be fighting. I think we're going to start working on that here. And this part, as you can imagine, isn't going to be all that fun to have to just sit and watch. So of course I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me just make the floor for the entire time. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here so you don't have to sit through all of it. So next couple parts of this video I decided to speed up quite a bit because I figured it's not going to be all that entertaining to watch me putting down different parts of the floor, working on different parts of the fences and just going through all the menus. It's not going to be quite entertaining, so I thought that it would be a better idea just to speed it up and sort of talk you through the process. So here I'm trying to figure out what type of barrier to put in front of the monks here and in between the fighters and the monks, I should say. You'll see me changing my mind a bit here as to what I actually want to do, but I ultimately decided to go with this here. It looks a bit different obviously, but as I said, I'm going to be changing things up, making it look a bit better. Here I'm mapping up the area that the monks are going to be in and then connecting it here to the very front of Shang Tsung's throne area here. And yeah, I think I decided to go with a certain material that looked a bit different, but I sort of liked it, so I decided to try to sort of mimic what it actually is, but add my own sort of style to it while keeping the original feel sort of intact. So this is what we've got so far. Nothing too crazy, nothing too amazing looking, obviously. I don't know if it will look very good by the time we're done, but for now, it's fine. So now, let's start adding in some color. So now, I'm going to be adding in the red elements to it. The roof, I'm not looking forward to doing, but we've got to add in the red parts here. I think we might have to add more to the back here, give some more room. Of course, I've added in some stairs there for where Shang Tsung's actual throne, his actual seat's going to be, right in the middle. So first we're going to connect these, make sure they're all the same height, potentially add more to the back of this little area here, just so there's actually room to do stuff. So yeah, we're going to add another layer here, I think, and like potentially that might be okay, but we might have to add another one. We'll see. Probably a good idea to add another one, so we'll chuck that on here. There's like some weird red patterns behind him in the first game, so we're just going to add those here. Not as patterns, but basically just more red straight lines that we're going to connect to the roof just to make it look a bit better, add a little bit more color, because it's going to be quite bland without the red and the green, and that's basically the roof. Everything else is quite bland, so we're going to go through, we're going to connect all of this to actually make it feel like it's all coming together, make it feel a bit more bright, because as I said, it's quite dull. Here I'm sort of trying to decide whether to connect it at the front, but I decided to because in the original that's sort of what it looks like. So now we're adding the green, and this part's kind of difficult because how do we actually make it look right? And honestly, the roof was the hardest part here. It really wasn't working, so I sort of just decided to take it in my own way. I sort of just did it how I wanted to, almost like stairs kind of building up. And I used this block in the middle to cover up the middle parts that weren't fully covered here. Apologies for the rain here, you'll see me turning it off. It was being a little bitch. You can see a pig just running around here. I don't know, man. Anyways, so now I wanted to start working a bit on this area at the front. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out like what to add. Whether that was, actually putting in the chair now or what I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to put in some red flags just to, again, add more color to it because there wasn't much going on. So I decided to add some red flags, and then I was thinking of other things that I could actually add as well as that, but then I decided we'll just start working on the chair, and you'll see there was a few prototypes here that I was trying to figure out, and yeah, it was kind of difficult because in order to make it even, I had to make the chair really big, and I didn't want to have to redo everything, so I decided to just have a big ass chair. But then I decided to move it forward so we actually had room to walk up the steps and then around. I'm still not too sure how I feel about the chair being so big, but I don't know, you want a big comfy chair, you got it, because there it is. Then I wanted to go around and add a fence sort of around it to really round it off to make it feel like a sort of area here. And that doorway there, we're going to look more into that later because it's going to lead to another stage we're working on. But for now, I just wanted to go through and finish off the floor. This is another reason why I sped it up, because I don't want to have it on normal speed and just be talking for 20 minutes while I get rid of some of the floor. But I think that so far I was liking what I had. Not bad, but definitely not perfect, and I still don't think it is by any means. I definitely want to come back to it later and add to it, whether that's in a video or not. But for now, this is what we had. It was looking alright, not too bad. Decided to add in some fences sort of around this area as a barrier to just stop people from falling off. I don't know, just a little idea I had again to add a little more to it, but nothing too crazy, obviously. So now I wanted to show off how it looked in the final product, and this is what it was. I got a couple of the armor stands and then just added a bunch of random people in the crowd. Of course, the fighters there you can see with weapons. Of course, normally someone would be sitting in the chair. I added some, they're fireplaces, but I added fire. Yeah, I added some yellow fences, some bamboo fences here, as well as I actually added a little bit on the roof. Here you have some bookshelves because, you know, Shang Tsung sorcery stuff. You also have some crafting benches and stuff as well over here. And then I added like a blue fireplace to make it look kind of cool. And the roof, as I said, I added some yellow, some bamboo to the top, just again to add something a little extra. And there is my rendition of the Courtyard, Shang Tsung's Courtyard from MK1 and MK9. Let me know what you think of it, I don't mind. Alright, so now we're moving on to the next stage, which is one I know a lot of you love, and that is the pit. This one's actually quite simple, but there was a little bit going on that, once again, I sort of had to make my own. Obviously, it's based on that, but here you can see I'm just mapping it out here. This little shit got in my way, so I was just sort of waiting for him to move. Anyways, here I was figuring out, you know, the distance between everything, trying to figure it all out, because obviously if you make it uneven, it can be kind of annoying, especially for someone like myself, who if I see something's uneven, it's just going to ruin the whole world for me. So I really needed to make sure that everything was lined up, everything was even, and luckily I was able to do that. So here I'm starting the bridge. I'm only going to be making one bridge. I know I don't think it was in the first game, but in MK2 and later renditions, you can see like a second bridge behind it. I only made one for the sake of this video because I didn't want it to be 30 minutes long, but we also have another stage after this to make. So once again, I've sped this up a tiny bit, not as much, but still like a tiny bit, just so I can sort of explain what's going on here, but also not be so boring that you want to leave, right? So now we've got the basis made here, and at this point I was figuring out what we should actually make, and then when I was looking at the screenshot I realized that there's actually a third pillar. Well, it's probably more than three, but I wanted mine to have two pillars holding it up at the left and right, but then I wanted to chuck one in the middle to actually make it line up and actually make it good. Here you can see I was trying to make it even, because on one end there was 4 blocks sticking out and one end there was only 2, so I was going to that and trying to fix that up, which of course, as you can see, we did there. So now the next part was mapping out where the middle would be, where the middle pillar would be, and this I didn't 100% figure out. It might not be like completely correct, but I figured it out in the end, luckily. So here we're trying to find a few different things, right? And I wanted to make the top feel a bit more lively because it's really bland, as you can see. I remembered in later renditions they have like lanterns. If you think of MKX and even MK11's Crypt, I think they have like lanterns, so I decided to chuck some at the far ends of both, and I decided to add blue in the middle with the third pillar, so it was roughly even. You can see here, originally I had them a bit closer, but I think in the end I decided it would probably be better not to do that. I was trying to map it out here, go 6, 6 away. But then, yeah, when I was looking at it, I sort of thought, I don't know if this looks good or not. But I definitely figured that it would look good if I put them in the middle, kind of like in the games when you can use them as interactables. So I decided to chuck them here, although you'll notice in a sec this one was actually moved because it was meant to be like sort of next to the pillar, but it was on the same block. So I decided to move it a little bit here. And yeah, I think this added to it added to it a little bit. I wanted to add like a fence or something around it, but none of the stages have that. They just have like rocks that sort of build up a little bit, so it kind of looks a little more safe, but yeah, it's really not. So then it was time to work on the bottom. This was a lot more difficult, required a bit more thinking, because there's no, as far as I'm aware at least, I don't play this game all that much, at least survival wise, so I wasn't sure if there was any like spikes or metal things that would look like they could actually hurt someone. So I had to go looking, and yeah, this part here that you're going to be seeing isn't all that entertaining here, obviously filling out the floor. And yeah, once again, we're going to skip over this so I can show you the next part. Here we have the bottom area. I'm adding in some heads, obviously, to look like people have been, I'm not going to say a certain word because I don't want to get demonetized, but people have been unalived, we'll say. And yeah, I decided to add some heads here. I was trying to find something that looked somewhat red. I'm not going to say what for, but obviously you can infer what it means. However, this one here did not want to work, as again, like, I don't play Minecraft much, so I don't know how everything functions really as to why certain blocks disappear or stay or whatever it was. But I decided kind of made it look like the ground had been stained or something, so that was cool. I decided to keep it, but then I also went looking for something else that looked like it, and I was lucky enough, I quickly was able to find something that kind of felt like it worked. So yeah, we went with this nether block here, and it kind of looked like obviously what I wanted it to. I'm adding it here to the pillars here to look like it was dripping almost. It doesn't really look like that, but that's the intention, at least. Kind of looks like flags from the last stage we made, but anyway, that was the point, and I made sure to put it near some of the heads so you could sort of infer what it was meant to be. Ignore that here, I realized I built it on top instead of as like a part of it almost. But anyway, that was roughly about it with this stage. I was considering chucking more of it up at the top, but I decided against it. So this is what it looked like in the end. I chucked some fighters up here on this one as well. I really like this one as well. So far I'm liking them, but again, nothing perfect. I made all of these, you know, relatively quickly, 30 minutes, an hour each on each of these, I would say. But obviously I'm not going to show you the whole thing just to not to bore you all. But now we have one stage left, and I wouldn't mind making some other ones from this game later down the line, but just for today we're just going to be making one more. And yeah, once again, I think I really do like this stage, and now we're moving on to the final one, and that was the Warrior Shrine, I believe is the name. I can't quite remember. I feel like there's something in MK11 that's called the Warrior Shrine. It might be this. I might be confusing it with the shrine from MK1 or something. I don't know. They use the word shrine a lot, so I'm just trying to remember. But here I fast forwarded just so you don't have to watch me filling in the floor again. Here I was trying to position these to be, you know, facing different ways, doing different positions, as dumb as it might look, just add a bit of variety. I couldn't get it to fully look like the original. Obviously, as far as I'm aware, there's no way to make any of these look like Goro or anything. So to make it even, I had to put two in the middle here, and it looked like they were holding hands, so I tried to put them in different positions just to make it even. This was like the least accurate one of the three, I would say, but with all of them, none of them were like accurate, right? If we're talking 10 is fully accurate, all of mine were like a 4, like somewhat like taking inspiration but sort of changing it and making it my own sort of rendition of it, more or less. This pose here was goofy, but I found it funny. So anyways, so then I went through and just added different stuff to some of them. I tried to add swords, went through and added in all the clothing that we needed and stuff like that. I'm aware that some of this looks, quite stupid, but I had a bit of fun with this one, even though it was not necessarily very good, and definitely the least accurate. It was quite a lot of fun. Anyways, once I had gotten that done, I've noticed that in the background of this stage there was trees, and I'm aware it was a nighttime stage, so you'll see what it looks like at night in just a little bit. But yeah, I was looking for bone meal right here, couldn't find it. It was potentially on this screen because I'm used to playing with certain texture packs and stuff, so I couldn't find it, but luckily I remembered what it was actually called, so I was able to find it. And I just chucked in, I think, 4 or 5 random trees, not evenly spread out or anything, just randomly in the area. Obviously bone meal made it quite easy to do this. And then obviously they got a lot bigger, and that was more or less it. And this is what the final version actually looked like, or at least you would think this was the final version. However, I decided that I wanted to add just a little bit more to it, make it a little less bland, and I wanted it to fit in with the stage that it was next to. So I went in and got some more red flags and decided to put those down. But I also wanted to make something else again, because this one wasn't that accurate, so I wanted it to at least feel a bit more colourful, a bit more interesting. So I decided to chuck some flags in the middle, as well as on the left and right furthest away from the middle here, just to make it look sort of nice. And I put some fire in the middle here as well, and this is what it looked like in the end. Not that accurate, but still, I really liked this one. And those were the 3 stages that I worked on for about 2-3 hours today for this video. Again, I know that they're not anything special, but it was quite fun working on this. Let me know your thoughts on them. What would you change about them? What do you like about them? Let me know. And let me know if you want me to make any more stages from this game, or move on to MK2 and start working on some other games. It will depend how this video goes, of course, but I would love any support, commenting, liking, anything like that would mean quite a lot. As you can see here, we're just going through and looking at all of them just to see sort of what the final version looked like. I feel like at night a lot of them look better, especially the ones that have fire, and all of them have some type of color added to them, which I really like. But once again, consider subscribing if you enjoyed. I would appreciate it more than you could possibly understand. So thank you, really appreciate you being here, especially if you watched all the way to the end, and I hope you all have a great day.